the spiritually lame that you would walk again, at the spiritually blind that you would see again. It would give us faith like a child again. Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up. What's going on, guys? It's Blaise here. It is a late night here in Montana, and as you'll notice, I am in the car. It's like almost 11 o'clock at night. God is stirring my heart, and I really felt like I just wanted to share these thoughts with you guys. And as I was putting my kids to bed tonight, I was like holding my little son. He's 3.5 and about to turn 4, and I was just praying over him, and then I just started singing a song over him, and I was just thinking about how the Lord just loves the childlike heart. And I couldn't help but just begin to pray for myself as my son was already asleep, and I was praying for him. I was just saying, Lord, give me a heart like a child. Give me a childlike spirit. Give me a childlike heart with the wisdom of age, but with a childlike spirit. You know, life tends to throw curveballs at us. Life doesn't always go as planned. I had this song in my heart actually over the last year, and it's just like honestly, it's just like, it's not a full song. It's just like it's like a little song I sing over my kids, or I sing to my family sometimes, but it goes, God's got something good for me today. I'm just gonna get out of the way. My heart will live with thankfulness and praise, 'cause God's got something good for me. And my daughter asked me tonight, she said, what does it mean to get out of the way? I'm like, well, that's a great question. What does it mean to get out of the way? Why do I need to get out of the way? Well, a lot of times, like, I have to get out of the way because, you know, a lot of times I overthink things. When God has something simple for me, I overthink the process. I overthink the next step. Sometimes the simple thing is just to do what you feel called to do, or the simple thing, straightforward. Sometimes I overthink it. Sometimes I mess it up or try to get my plans involved in it. And so that's what it means to get out of the way and let God have his way in my life, and just let my heart live with a simple thankfulness and praise. Thankfulness and praise, because I know that he's got something good for me. And so as I was talking to her and singing that over her tonight, I then felt like the Lord just kind of stirred my heart. And because I've had that song in my heart for like a year, just singing over my kids, singing over my family sometimes. And I feel like he just spoke to my heart and said, do you want a second verse on that? And I began to just sing this second verse. All of my times are in your hands. All of my past and all my plans. That my mind is set on your commands. 'Cause I know that you're good to me. All of my times are in your hands. My past and all my plans. Fix my mind on your commands. 'Cause I know you're only good to me. Anyway, these are the thoughts and songs of my heart tonight. As I think about life, and just I'm just asking God. You know, I'm coming up, my birthday's in November, and this fall, and I'm just coming up on turning 42.
Hey guys, real quick, just want to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by wakeupandwinp Insurance, helping clients with their term life, whole life, index universal life, as well as retirement options such as overfunding index universal life and utilizing annuities for families. We're definitely happy to help you. If you'd like to have a consultation, then just click the link below and book an appointment. Take care and keep enjoying the podcast.
But as I'm thinking about it, I'm just thinking about when I met Jesus at 16. And then I'm thinking about even prior to that, when I first gave my life to the Lord at like 5 or 6 years old. And I just watch my daughter, and I watch her sincere faith. You know, my daughter Ella Jean, she's just got such a sincere faith, and just so genuine. And she's like, anyway, there's just a lot I could say there. And she said, like, talks about spending time with the Lord and wanting to get some alone time with the Lord, and she wants to write an album with me, and just anyway, she's just so deep and so sincere, and God just uses her to speak to me so often, just through her sincere heart and sincere faith. And then my son, who's Blaise Storm, who's like about to turn 4, and he just asked me such deep questions. He just asked me sincere and deep questions, and he's just such a sweetheart. And anyway, and then of course my other son, he's like 1.5, and he's so funny. He's how mature he is. He's like barely talking, but he calls me dad. He's the only one of our kids that doesn't call me daddy. But anyway, just like having my kids, it just, I don't know, it just stirs me to just have such a, I just was begging God tonight. I was begging God to just help me to have a clean and sincere and childlike heart through all the ups and downs of life, through, heck, for all of you guys that have followed us since October, since the fallout of Mike Bickle and IHOP, and then Robert Morris, and then Tony Evans, and just so many that we didn't even cover, and even the stuff that going on with Anaheim, California, and all that stuff. And then of course we haven't even touched on it, but with the assassination attempt and all that stuff, and just the shakings in the world, and the shakings in the church are enough, much less the shakings in the world, right? And it's like, at the end of the day, I feel like, and God was reminding me tonight, that as a dad, and maybe some of you are fathers and mothers, and maybe some of you, I've talked to some of you guys, and you guys are you guys are even grandparents at this time of your life, but just know this, that your main call is, number 1, to love the Lord, and number 2, to love those in your sphere of influence, whether that's your kids or your grandkids. But our greatest call is to pass on to our posterity a genuine faith. I think about Timothy, where Paul says to Timothy, he says, I remember, what does he say? I remember that faith, that sincere faith that was in your grandmother, Louise, or something like that. Is that a verse I'm thinking of right now? It totally is. I can't look on my phone because I'm recording from my phone tonight, and I don't have my Bible in the car. But he's talking about a sincere and genuine faith. I'll find it and I'll edit it into this video. But I remember the genuineness of your faith and sincerity of your faith that was also in like your mother or your grandmother. I think that's just so powerful. She doesn't have a book. That mother or grandmother, she doesn't have a book in the Bible. But I'll guarantee you this, without her, Timothy wouldn't have a book in the Bible either. Paul wouldn't have a letter to Timothy if it weren't for that mother or grandmother. So to you guys out there tonight that have been watching our show, maybe you're in your 50s, you're in your 60s, you're in your 70s even watching our show and our podcast, and you're saying, Lord, is it too late for me? Is it too late for me? No, it's not too late for you. And in fact, everything that you've done and sown into your kids and grandkids, even if some of them are not walking with the Lord today, I'll say this, your prayers and the seeds that you've sown are going to turn them over time. Okay, so just stay consistent and stay genuine and stay sincere, and don't lose heart. Don't lose heart, because so many of your kids are going to turn back around, and just stay consistent. Obviously, you don't got to preach to them at this point in life. Some of you maybe weren't the best example in the early years. You know what? That's a bummer, but that's okay. You can be now. You can be now. One of the most powerful things that, my parents were awesome growing up, but really when it was whenever I turned 15 or 16 that my dad came to me, and actually, I remember one of the most powerful things that my dad did was he apologized to me. He apologized to me and my brothers and my sister, and for at times not being the best example whenever we were younger. I remember he apologized with tears. That impacted me so deeply as a 16-year-old. I was like, or maybe 15. I was just like, what? I didn't even know how to compute that, right? It's just so powerful. So you can, at your stage, whatever stage you're at, the most powerful thing you can do is, number 1, be genuine, have a genuine heart for the Lord and with the Lord. And number 2, be sincere to your kids and your grandkids, and apologize and take ownership for your mistakes. That's probably one of the most powerful things to do. And that's I learned that from my dad at 15 or 16. I do that every single freaking day with my kids. I'll be like, I'll be like the best example ever, and then I'll lose my temper, and then 10 minutes later I'm like, hey, sorry about that. I tell my son, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry I yelled at you. You were wrong, but I'm sorry that I yelled at you, and I don't want to do that. Right? But anyway, I just want to encourage you guys. in the prayer that I have for myself tonight, and the prayer I'm praying for you guys tonight, Lord, you guys can pray this with me. Lord, give me an undivided heart. Give me a lifetime of sincerity. Give me a return to the very first love. You know, I see so many that have just gotten so burned by the spiritual abuse in the charismatic church, and where they just go like, they just kind of have like so much, let go of so much. And I'll say this, your faith didn't come from, just like Paul said, you're not of Paul, you're not of Apollos, you're of Christ or you're not, right? Your faith in Christ, that he first bought you and you first became born again and you first met him. And even if you sang in prayer rooms that are now shut down, or you were in churches where there's spiritual abuse that you left, this, that, or the other, well, initially and genuinely, your encounter was with the Lord, not with those people, not with that church, not with that organization. Whatever happened to you spiritually was from Christ himself. And so you can return to that initial place of first love. It's not a physical place, but it's a spiritual place in your own heart with the Lord. It's that genuine walk with Jesus. And I just want to call you back to that. I just want to call you back to that. You know, like in 2013, probably 2014, and then 2015, in that season of my life, there was so much, like, there were so many great things. You know, I met my wife, I got married, so many great things, but there was also so much spiritual pain and heart pain, because I left the community that I had been in for years, and I had, you know, what I would call spiritual abuse happen, and just like kind of heavy-handed like rebukes from people for differences of theology and all this stuff. And like, it really caused me to take a turn in 2015 toward just like basically retreating from spiritual community, retreating from like a house of worship where I could go in and like anytime I got around anything charismatic or any charismatic, we're not even just prophecy and tongues or any of that, but just basic like people that loved Jesus and wanted to like sing a song to him, that type of stuff like would trigger me. And it was so hard. And I went through for years of just that feeling of just like almost like closing my heart, not to the Lord. I didn't want to close my heart to the Lord, but I closed my heart to his people and to the gathering of the saints. And it wasn't until like 2018, or I think it was 2018, where the Lord just started to speak to me and say, hey, dude, you need to get back with the saints. You need to go back to church and take your family into community where there's genuine worship and the word's being preached. And I remember I did. And it was so healing over time. And I just began to let go of some of those offenses that I didn't even know that I had. And it propelled my heart and my walk with Jesus. And it changed it made me a better man. It made me, it's not like I was terrible or anything, but it just made me like, it softened me again, like just like the first time I met the Lord in 1999 or whatever. And so I want to continually have that rebirth, that reawakening, that interpersonal, that internal revival within myself. I'm not seeking a cultural revival through prayer and fasting, although that might be great. I am seeking a continual personal revival and at-home revival where my kids walk with the Lord from a young age. They don't need a revival. Where my marriage is full of Christ and full of humility and openness and honesty and vulnerability and pushing each other to love more and to lay down our lives for our kids and to love the Lord. Like that, in my mind, is real revival. And anyway, I'm just kind of ranting now, but I want to encourage you guys to have that sincerity of heart and ask the Lord, just give me that undivided heart. Give me a genuine humility again, and give me the faith like a child again. Faith like a child again. To walk on water, to part the sea, to hear your voice when you're calling me. The lame would walk, the blind would see, the spiritually lame would walk. Yeah, miracles, signs, and wonders, that's great. But the spiritually lame, that you would walk again. At the spiritually blind, that you would see again. That God would give us faith like a child again. Faith like a child. The fire of his love would come down on our hearts once again and bring us to that place that's not a public spectacle on a stage that's shouting and excited so that others can say, look how on fire you are for the Lord, this or that or the other, or how accurately prophetic you are, any of those things, but just a genuine, deep love for Jesus. And that's what I want, and that's what I want for you guys. And I pray that for you guys tonight. I hope this has encouraged you, and I hope it's helped you. I love you guys. I bless you guys, and I will be back with more. In Jesus' name. Have a great night. Peace.
Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up.